Hey everyone, this is Rachelle. Thanks for clicking on my video. And y'all, I came in to talk about the verdict of the Tim Norman trial and all the stuff that we found out over these past few weeks. So I don't know if you guys heard by now, but Tim Norman was found guilty on all charges for having his nephew, Andre Montgomery, murdered. Now, I think we all, after we started seeing the different players tell their stories, the murderer, the girl that lured Andre out of the house, and the insurance guy, once they all gave, their verdict, their version of what happened, we all pretty much knew this day was coming. So I wasn't surprised with what we found out that Tim was found guilty. What has surprised me is what has also begun to leak out about Miss Robbie. Y'all, when I first heard about Andre being murdered, I was heartbroken. Me and my mother just talked about this, and we talked about the relationship that Andre had with Charles and how cute they were together and funny, and how they played off each other, and how it was such a shame that that young man's life was taken from him at such an early age. And we felt sorry for Miss Robbie because Miss Robbie lost a husband to gun violence, a son to gun violence, and now her own grandchild to gun violence. So our hearts went out to her. But today, when Tim was found guilty, and quite honestly, before today, y'all, I had started feeling a little uneasy about, you know, exactly what Miss Robbie knew and when she knew it. Now, I'm going to be very careful here with what I say because I do understand that Miss Robbie is actually suing a YouTuber. And I don't want to get in no trouble because y'all ain't got no money. But today, I want to talk about what Andre's family said when they came out of that courtroom after Tim was found guilty. They came out and they talked to reporters, his sister specifically. And the reporters were asking all kind of questions. And one thing that stuck out in what the sister said is a conversation that Andre had with Miss Robbie. Apparently, all of this stemmed from Tim accusing Andre of stealing, robbing, breaking into his grandmother's house and stealing that $200,000. That was supposed to be his motivation for wanting someone to, I guess, accost Andre, beat him up or whatever. In this case, he had Andre murdered. So when Miss Robbie contacted Andre, and y'all, this is proven by text messages that were in Andre's phone when the police found him, and also they probably subpoenaed Miss Robbie's phone and retrieved text messages from her phone because all of this was in the court trial. Now, the reason why his sisters, speaking to the reporters today, really just bothered me is because the sisters confirmed those text messages. She said at one point, Miss Robbie called Andre, cussing him out about getting back to St. Louis to take that lie detector test. Giving him the what for, letting him know, it seems like you're running, blah, blah, blah. And Andre telling her, I didn't do this, Grandma. Tim did this. He also told her, and this is what his sister was saying, that he was worried about Tim, that he had heard that Tim had people looking for him to hurt him. Miss Robbie wasn't trying to hear it. You know, she wasn't trying to hear it. All she knew is that money was missing from her house. And she totally ignored, from what I'm understanding from his Andre's family, what Andre was trying to tell her. First of all, Grandma, I didn't do this. I'm not trying to hide from you. You know, I got a little case here in Texas. I need to get this squared away so I can travel back. I am willing to take this lie detector test, but when I come into St. Louis, I'm only staying for a day. I'm worried about Tim. I don't want to get involved with no trouble that he has in store for me. I don't want it. Andre's sister said that Miss Robbie continued to call him all kind of MFs, told him that he was not her grandson. She wouldn't come to his funeral. She wouldn't want him at hers, and on and on and on. They say when the call ended, Andre was so upset that he threw his phone across the room and said something to the effect of, well, I guess I'm about to be one of God's soldiers. And his sister said what that meant is Andre, because he wanted his grandmother to believe him so much that he figured against his better judgment and against what he had heard, I better get back to Columbus, to St. Louis, because I don't want my grandmother to think that I did this. I'll take the lie detector test because I know I didn't do it. The sister said Andre left that day, and I believe within 48 hours, Andre was dead. Now, y'all, the part that bothers me about that, and this is what me and my mother were discussing today. If my grandson, before his death, had kept telling me that my son Tim did it, my son Tim had people looking for him, that he was afraid of my son Tim. My grandson just kept telling me that over and over again in text and voicemail, and then actually when we spoke one on one on the phone. And then within 2 days of my grandson coming back, my grandson was killed. Let me tell y'all, you're not going to tell me that at no point after Andre's murder did it not cross Miss Miss Robbie's mind what Andre had told her. Now, I'm not saying that it stopped her in her tracks and say, "Oh yeah, Tim did it," but it didn't cross her mind. Like when she went home at night after Andre died and said, "You know, it's strange." Andre kept saying Tim had people looking for him, and now Andre's dead. That didn't cross her mind. Another thing that bothered me, I thought back to that episode where Tim took Miss Robbie to the spot where Andre was murdered. When I watched that scene now, before I was side eyeing Miss Robbie, I was upset with Tim because he had been accused of killing his nephew. So to me, when he went back that day, it was like he was tap dancing on Andre's grave. But now that I know that Andre told his grandmother this, his family, they said that when this conversation occurred between Andre and Miss Robbie, where Miss Robbie was cussing him out, he put the phone on speaker. So they all heard what Andre said as well as what Miss Robbie was saying back to him. This conversation happened where Andre was begging his grandmother to believe that he didn't do it, stating over and over and over that Tim had people looking for him to hurt him. So now when I flash to that scene of Miss Robbie and Tim on that spot where Andre was murdered, I wonder what was going through Miss Robbie's head. You know, knowing that Andre told you that, and within 48 hours of him coming back to St. Louis, he's dead. Another thing that struck me that his family said, and this is about Andre's funeral. Of course, we all knew that Tim showed up with bodyguards and a bulletproof vest on at his nephew's funeral. But the family said, I guess they're free to speak now that the trial is over. They said that Miss Robbie was there too. The sister tells a story about, you know, the funeral going on. People are crying and grieving, Andre's family and loved ones in Texas. And Miss Robbie and Tim sitting behind her, whispering all through the funeral, saying things to the fact like, I don't know why all these people crying. They knew he was a street nigga. Now, this is Miss Robbie's grandson. This Andre's sister said this today outside the courtroom. She also said that Miss Robbie did not cry at Andre's funeral, nor did Tim. She went on to say that when they were on their way, I guess, to the gravesite, they were in the funeral procession, that Tim stopped the procession and said he had a flight to catch to California. She said that Tim didn't come there to grieve. He came there to make sure that Andre was really dead. All the way to Texas. The family, they said that they told Miss Robbie that Andre didn't take that money. Now, this is why the family says it. They say that they know Andre, and also he was a young man. If he had had that money, he would have been flashing it. He would have been spending more money, on things. He would have had money to do the stuff that he wanted to do. They said proof that Andre did not steal that money, further proof, is that when Andre was in St. Louis, no, this is not proof that he didn't steal the money, but this is proof that what we thought of Tim and now maybe even Miss Robbie may not have been correct. They said that the image that we got from the show is not quite Andre's relationship with Miss Robbie and Tim. They said that several times Andre had to call his mother for food and spending money when he was in St. Louis. Literally, his mother would order from a restaurant in St. Louis from Texas and pay for it on her end because Andre didn't have money to buy food. They said that Andre was living in, like, I guess, like some type of a garage slash shack or building of some sort next door to Tim's penthouse. And they said that when they went there and they got a chance to see firsthand the living conditions that Andre was living in, they said he was sleeping on some type of cot. He had little odds and end furniture. And they asked him, why are you staying here living like this? We thought everything was going well. Y'all, I don't know. I'm not of the opinion that Miss Robbie had anything to do with it. I don't actually believe that part. But what I believe that she's guilty of is turning a deaf ear to Andre's concerns and what he actually told her. The family said that when he kept telling her about his fears when it came to Tim and the fact that he didn't take the money, she ignored him. She ignored him. And for all that crying they did on that reunion show after Andre was murdered, the family, Andre's family, says they weren't crying like that at his funeral. And that a lot of suspicious things or things that were a little eyebrow raising, that occurred in the aftermath of Andre's death, that Miss Robbie's family, I guess, didn't even really pay it no mind. Y'all, I'm very disappointed because when Andre died, and I knew all the stuff that Miss Robbie had been through, I actually prayed for her, that God gave her some comfort with the loss of her grandchild, and then the finger pointed at her son, because I knew as a mother and a grandmother that she was going through it. You know, on the one hand, trying to be there for her son, and then on the other hand, grieving the loss of her grandson. I at this point, y'all, I don't even know what to think, because my impression of Miss Robbie is that she was tortured by what happened. But if the family is saying she didn't even cry at Andre's funeral, that they did not see a tear leaking from her eye, and on the other hand, she was sitting there whispering and chit chatting with Tim all through the funeral, to the point that they had to turn around and look at them like, wait a minute, show some respect. This is your grandson. Hey, Tim, this is your brother's only child. I don't know, y'all. Now, they say that Tim's sentencing is December 15th, and those prosecutors have asked for life. Y'all, that's what he should get. You took Andre's life. You had it taken from him. 21-year-old young man. And the length you went to see this thing through, and the time that you took to plan it out, and all the players that you brought together. You deserve life. Actually, to me, he deserved the death penalty, because the conniving. And y'all, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna get out of here. Me and my mother today, we were talking about the real motive behind why Tim did this. The only thing that we can come up with is this. When Miss Robbie brought Andre to St. Louis, I truly believe that they bonded. That this was a way for Miss Robbie to give the love that she couldn't give to her own son because he was dead, to his son. And I believe that Miss Robbie wanted that more than anything. She wanted a relationship with her son's son. And bringing Andre up there was a way to do that. So I believe that Miss Robbie went into that pure of heart, a grandmother's love. But I also believe that there were things that Miss Robbie saw, things that Miss Robbie heard, and things that Miss Robbie suspected about Tim and Andre's relationship, that she may have turned a blind eye to because she loved him. I don't know how Miss Robbie sat there at Andre's funeral with all the things that Andre had told her about her son Tim. I don't know how that didn't cross her mind that Tim could have possibly did it, knowing what we now know. See, I thought Miss Robbie was just as in the blind, just as in the dark as we were. You know, I didn't know that Andre had told her all this stuff out of his own mouth, y'all. See, like I said, if that had been me, I I would have questioned him, and I wouldn't have let it go. He would have had to prove to me, not only investigators, but he would have had to prove to me that he didn't have anything to do with Andre's death. I wouldn't have let that go, because it would have still been echoing in my mind in the hours and days and the months after Andre was killed. I couldn't get out of my mind what Andre had told me. This this whole thing did not play out as I thought it would. I am happy that Andre's family got a guilty verdict. I'm so happy for them because God, what those people have gone through these last few years since that boy was murdered. But I'm I don't know what to feel about Miss Robbie now. I'm just disappointed, y'all. Just really disappointed. Because I'm gonna say again for the record, I do not believe that Miss Robbie knew that Tim was gonna have Andre murdered. But I believe in the aftermath, she had to remember what Andre told her. She had to remember that investigators who were investigating the robbery at her home, they ruled Andre out. His sister said that today. They ruled him out. None of that, none of those pieces seemed to fall in place for her because she didn't want them to fall in place. Just like she said, Tim was her son. She wasn't worried so much about Andre mother's son. She was worried about her son more than Andre. She didn't want to believe that Tim. No, let me rephrase that. She didn't want to allow herself to believe that Tim could have had a part of this. But she had the proof from Andre's own mouth, y'all. Another thing before I get out of here. I know that wherever Andre is, none of this means anything to him anymore because he's been gone from this earth for years. I just I just hope that he feels that somebody cared because we have all the people that had an interest in this case. We've been praying for justice for him. You know, we could on the outside looking in clearly see that Tim has something to do with this and that his mother was choosing not to accept that fact. So I hope that Andre knows that he has so many supporters that literally when we watched him on that show, we actually fell in love with him, with his little antics and, just his little personality. You know, I wonder how Charles is because him and Andre really bonded. I wonder where he falls, you know, and what he thinks and what he believes. I would sure love to see an interview with him where he could just be honest with his feelings because I don't know if I believe that Charles believed that Tim was innocent. I believe that as Charles probably saw those facts start to tumble out, Charles put two and two together. Charles also was witness to when Tim attacked Andre. Remember that episode where they rushed into Miss Robbie's office and they both were tearful and, just telling Miss Robbie what Tim had done? Charles is somewhere really, really in agony over the possibility of what Tim did to Andre. And I believe that there are other family members, though they love Miss Robbie, like Miss Robbie's sister, they love their sister. But I could tell at times when I was watching the show before Andre was murdered that a lot of times those sisters, you could tell by the expressions on their face, they didn't agree with some of the shit that Tim was doing. Now, they didn't say nothing because they knew that was their sister's child. And, you don't want to be talking about your sibling's child. But you could tell they wasn't down for some of that stuff Tim was doing to Miss Robbie. So I wonder, where do they fall? I don't know. With that, y'all, I'm gonna get out of here. I just wanted to come in and circle back and say Andre finally got justice. I just am so sorry that Miss Robbie didn't take heed to what Andre was trying to tell her, and I guess protect him a little better. You know, it's like her anger fueled some hate that Tim already had for Andre. I believe that Tim noticed Miss Robbie getting close to Andre, and he became jealous. He figured that if something ever happened to Miss Robbie, that he would have to split her wealth with Andre. And the only way he could see around that is to get rid of him. And that robbery that we all believe Tim did gave him the perfect excuse. You know, blame Andre. And that way I'm vindicated when I'm looking for him. Some bullshit, y'all. I'm out of here. Tell me what y'all think down in the comments. As always, thanks for watching the